Much for being here and for having me. I'm excited about this topic. I am grateful um, that Spirit has allowed us to come up with this. To be, I hope it's helpful in some way. I'm always nervous, whether I'm at a podium or behind a camera. I always have to say that nervous, nervous, nervous. Especially when we get into steps, because there's so much meat and potatoes, in the steps, that sometimes I feel like I can't cover all of it, but I will do my best. I'm glad that we chose a topic so that we can stay specific. So my name is Theresa. I am a grateful alcoholic. Hey, sobriety date. I'm so happy to say just celebrated a birthday yesterday. So my sobriety date is March 29, 1990. Ooh, ooh, chaka laka laka, boom, boom. But for the grace of God, I've been here for the last 30 years. That is insane to even say it. It's beyond me. I am really, really grateful. Okay, this is awkward and unusual, but here we go. So the topic is meditation. Let me see where I go from here. I always say, I want to welcome anybody who's new, welcome home. And if you haven't gotten to this step, it's really okay. It's good to just kind of take whatever applies, leave the rest on the shelf. If you've been here for a while, welcome. Thank you. Old timers, thank you for being here. I've learned so much from you and I want to continue to do so. Thank you for showing up. There's always a disclaimer. Whatever it is that I share with you today about my experience on this topic may change next week, so don't hold me to it. Because every day we have a new experience. My dad would always say the same man who leaves his house in the morning is not the same man who comes home at night. So certainly life experiences changes the dynamic of how I understand certain things. But welcome everyone. Uh, in order for me to even get to meditation and to talk about it, I have to acknowledge step 10. So I would say it's always difficult sometimes to get into one step unless I acknowledge the one before it, because the answer to 10 is actually in 11. And so let's assume that at this point I've gone through 1 through 10. And I should be, I'll use the term should be, at this place where I'm now developing this contact with this power that I've discovered. And I mention this because I think it's essential to holding the space in meditation, that I've gotten rid of at this point some old ideas and prejudices and fears and issues around this very subject of religion, of God, of ritual, of ceremony. That's why it's imperative that the steps go in order, because it's going to take me to this place that by the time I get to 11, I'm not hung up on some old ideas. And that's what I would hope, that by the time we get to 11, I'm there. If I try to associate what it is to do meditation and prayer with old ideas, more than likely I'm going to struggle. I'm not going to be able to do it, and I'm going to have a hard time, or I may stop doing it. So I really believe that's so important. And I love the way the 12 steps are laid out in such a way. It gives me this breadcrumbs. It gives me this guiding tuning fork, so that as I arrive at 11, I've come to this place. In 10, it brought me to a place of, I now have my brain to use. I will have an intuitive thought. I've entered the world of spirit. I'm no longer haunted by the obsession to drink. So it's not torturing me at this point, right? I'm not even thinking about it. As a matter of fact, I've recalled from it like a hot flame. It doesn't even occur to me. And so I can arrive at this place. I now have a new employer and a new director. I have this new idea of a power. And I'm looking forward, like any relationship, to nurture and develop it. And that's how I come into 11. I've always heard prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. And so how do I now allow myself to come into a place of listening? I can get into, and I've done workshops on meditation, okay? And there are many forms of meditation. As a matter of fact, I've been doing transcendental meditation since I was like 7 years old. Okay? I've done standing like a tree. I've done all kinds of meditation and reaching that place of nirvana. And most people want to talk about forms of meditation and looking to get there. But what I understand and what I really appreciate about the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is that it actually gives me the blueprint for meditation. In looking in the chapter, when it discusses step 11, and it's interesting, most people believe that when it talks in step 11 about upon awakening and retiring at night, most people refer to that as a 10 step. And that's not how I understand that. Because the reason why I don't understand it that way is because they concluded the discussion on 10. They told me after this experience, I'm now stepping into this experience. And then interesting enough, after upon awakening and after retiring at night, the next paragraph says, we usually conclude our meditation with prayer. And whenever I do a big book study, I ask people, when do we meditate? Do you know what I'm saying? It says we conclude. So that means, oh, I missed something, because it must have been talking about meditation, because it just said we conclude. So it says I begin with this meditation and I conclude with prayer. And so as much as we can get into dialogue, and they introduced me to other ideas about these religious people may be right, there are a lot of books and other things that I can turn to for guidance. The simplicity of doing what is asked in upon awakening and retiring at night is the most helpful tool. Those questions, and I'm going to start there and then I'll kind of graduate, right? So it's almost like this is kindergarten, right? For me. So people, let's look at this as kindergarten, right? I'm now new in recovery. I've cleaned house. I've done some the inventory. I went back and make amends. I'm now no longer have the obsession to drink. And we get into this thing of prayer and meditation because I'm improving my conscious contact with God. I need nutrition for the body, and so does the spirit. This is the nutrition for the spirit. And I want to build this relationship with this power. And like any relationship, I need to have a dialogue. I don't know about you, but perhaps we could have relationships with people and have some actual social distancing where we never talk to them, listen to them, interact with them. That's not a relationship, right? So this is what I'm about to enter with this newfound power. I'm going to get to know it, and it's going to get to know me further. And so how do I set the stage for this relationship with this power? I need to allocate some time as I would any other relationship in my life to develop, cultivate, and nurture it. And they set some time frames for me. They say upon awakening. So what do I want to do the first time I get up? I want to take those questions. So this is the kindergarten. And I did this in the beginning of my sobriety when I got to step 11 for meditation. I took those questions that it says upon awakening, planning out my day. What is it that I want to do? I call that time of the morning a staff meeting. Sorry. Sorry, I call that my staff meeting with my higher power. Because my higher power is my employer, my director, and most of us who work in a job, sometimes we start as a staff meeting. If anybody worked in running a hotel, you usually have to gather all your staff, right? Go over the day. A lot of jobs, you kind of go over what is our objective of the day and what is our task in a lot of jobs. Anyway, right? So I call it a staff meeting. And what I want to do is I want to hear my instructions that my employer has for me for the day, my duties for the day. And even though I'm listening to my instructor, I also have some suggestions because it says in there that I start thinking about what my plans are. Like, I know my employer may want me to make phone calls, but I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should do something else. I would be a little bit more productive. And I literally take that into meditation. Meditation is deep thought. If I took the literal word of what meditation is, it is contemplation and deep thought. So I actually take those questions into thought, and I allow my thoughts to do whatever they need to do. And I literally sit there, if I can, as quietly as possible, and ask myself, what are the plans for the day? What do I think I should be doing? How can I best do them? Is there anything that I forgot to do yesterday that I could make up for today? There's some great questions in there. And I literally meditate on them. I just keep thinking about them, and I'm listening. I'm listening to hear what, without judgment. So for me, I'm listening. A name can pop up, an idea can pop, you know what I mean? I don't go, what do you mean by that? Why would I do that? I just kind of listen. But I may get nothing. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have an assignment for the day. It may come later in the day. But at least I'm taking this time. And what we read in Spiritual Experience talked about, we're going to read that later, I'm sorry. Talks about we alcoholics are undisciplined. And we let God discipline us in the way we've outlined these steps. And so I know that I come into this process of meditation, for example, upon awakening, undisciplined. I haven't been doing that my entire life. And I believe in practice. Everything requires practice. Practice, practice, practice. When I first came into the program, I didn't think it was possible to not drink for 24 hours. But I kept practicing and I didn't pick up. And now it becomes so easy and so normal not to do. So it's a conscious effort that I had to make to ask myself those questions and to take a minute, 5 minutes, 2 minutes in my day to have my staff meeting. Why am I doing that? A, because I need God to discipline me. B, I need to be in alignment with this power. I discovered through inventory and having to make amends that life run by me hasn't been successful. And because I'm no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated, I now need to check in with my employer on a regular basis to ensure that this business of Theresa continues to be a success. And I believe the invitation to do that, as it tells me in the big book and the 12 and 12, is through taking this time to sit with self, to go inward, and now I can go inward. What's interesting is that I can now go in. I couldn't go in before when I was driven by resentment and fear. There was no way I was going to sit still and try to go in. I'm not going to do it. I use this analogy a lot. My sponsor would always use it, and that was, excuse the expression, I'm going to curse, but she used to talk about if you have a toilet bowl full of shit, okay? So if you got a toilet bowl full of shit and you get a clear glass of water, and you pour it in the toilet bowl, what do you have? More shit. You get another glass of clear water, you pour it in the toilet bowl. The only thing that happens is that the shit starts to rise, right? Just more and more shit just starts coming to the surface. Well, what she said to me was that the glass of water were my prayers. And so I'm putting these pure prayers into a toilet bowl full of shit, which is the shit that's living inside of me, right? And so the only thing I'm doing, and people do that many times, where they say, well, I've been praying. I pray for God's will. Or I pray, you know what I mean, for other people. And I'm praying, but it seems to be getting worse. Because you're putting a clear glass of water in a toilet bowl full of shit. Excuse the expression. So, in order to have a clear toilet bowl, okay, I need to get a plunger and I've got to unclog the shit, okay? And then and that is steps 4 through 9. Wait. So I visualize 4 through 9 with a plunger. You know, some shit is hard to get out, right? In the toilet. So that's what I'm doing, and it's difficult, and you're sweating, and that's what I'm doing 4 through 9. And so I finally go like this, and it pops. And when it pops, it goes, and it's, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you have a clear bowl of shit, right? I mean, no more shit. It's all clear. I got clear water in the toilet bowl, okay? And then I could take that glass of water now and pour it in there. And what do I have? Clear water in the toilet bowl. I think that's a perfect analogy. It helped me. I'm a very visual person, as you can tell. And so if I even taking the toilet bowl analogy of the meditation and prayer, is there are times that the toilet bowl gets clogged up again with stuff. And I have to constantly keep unplugging it. Because I don't know about you, but I could sit on the toilet full of stuff and it's really gross. So if I'm trying to sit on some, you know what I mean? A toilet, you know, a toilet full of caca, it's not very peaceful, okay? So I want to always make sure that my toilet has clear water. When it does, I can sit peacefully and take my next dump, right? So that's what I'm doing in meditation. Because it's so funny, because I know most people, when we get into meditation, most people think I have to be on a lotus flower, like going to some, I don't know. We're not all Buddhas here, okay? Let's not try to get all of a sudden, you know how long it took Buddha himself to reach that place of nothingness? It's going to take a minute. Let's talk about that for a second. If we look at any religious teacher or leader that shares with us the methods of meditation, whether it's for Buddha, whether it's a monk, Buddha himself, the Yashashana, I had a yoga master teacher, they will all tell you that the stages of reaching nirvana is having to confront the darkness, the deepest darkness of yourself. So most people, especially alcoholics and addicts, we just want to quickly reach to the end game, right? And so if I want to reach this place of complete alignment with this power and euphoria or utopia, I'm going to have to go through a lot of toilet bowls full of shit. Okay? That's pretty much it. And I have to be willing to sit and listen and uncover, discover, and discard. And interesting enough, the questions that they give us in the big book upon awakening and going to bed at night is talking about the crap. That's really what I'm asking myself. Upon awakening, and sorry, I got a motorcycle, and going to bed, what I'm asking, hope you can hear me. I got a motorcycle back. What I'm asking is to show me what is keeping me from my usefulness. I'm not going into that meditation saying, show me that I'm completely a spirit and I'm floating and I'm now, I don't know, I'll turn into an angel all of a sudden, okay? And I'm seeing, you know, the kaleidoscope of lights and I'm one with the universe and all this kind of stuff. That's not what's happening. I am now the observer. And I always invite anyone in their beginning practice of meditation is to practice becoming an observer, where I start watching me. I'm watching my thoughts. I'm watching what comes up. I'm paying attention to what is getting in the way. What is disturbing me? I had someone call me earlier and said, I was doing that for a few days and then I got irritated and uncomfortable and I wasn't getting anything. And I share with them, that's when I write. Because more than likely I've got resentments and I got fears. And I write. So I believe 10 and 11 go together a lot. Because I need to get rid of some stuff. And then I could sit still. And I'm looking to hear. And hearing doesn't only come through sound in my ears. It can come through feeling something. It can come through seeing something, or I'm opening up my senses. It can allow me to come out of there more open to what I can see about me and you throughout the day. And so I think the questions they give us is profound, because something happens when I begin with that practice. If I am able to be disciplined enough, or ask God to help discipline me in the way we laid out, if I practice these principles in all my affairs, if I just make a conscious effort, I don't have to do nothing else, is what I learned, but to practice the 12 steps. That was always my assignment when I got here. I don't have to figure out where I'm going to work, what I'm going to do, who I'm going to marry, where I'm going to live, where I'm going to go. My focus was to stay sober and carry the message. How do I stay sober? Focus on the steps. My task is that. And so step 11 is my focus, my relationship with this power. I'm going to go into a meeting and a dialogue. My relationship with this power is going to change as a result of doing this on a regular basis, on how I communicate with that power. Just like we've been communicating with each other in meetings for years, right? Face to face. And because of a shift in something, we found another method to communicate. That's the same thing I do with my higher power. Depending on circumstances or situations, I shift how I'm communicating. What do I mean by that? In the beginning, I had the time to wake up right in the morning and do my questions. I was just diligent. I remember my dad go, "What are you doing?" I have to do my questions, meditation, right? Leave me alone, everybody. Got my staff meeting I gotta do. I was taking care of like my brother when he was sick with cancer. We got to go early in the morning for chemo, right? So I had to start finding, once I got up, and if I had to move that quickly, I'm not going to get up earlier, right? Than the 5 o'clock in the morning for us to get ready to go. Then throughout the day, after he was settled in his chemo and stuff, then I would find an area in the hospital where I can have that dialogue. Or sometimes I would get up early before the boys and my brother. There's many situations I've had to do that. And he lived in seminary, so I would go out to the field. There was like a baseball field by the house, right? And I would just go out there and do my thing. And then most of them knew breakfast didn't get started. Nothing got started until Titi came back from her staff meeting, And I would come back, and then we're ready to start our day. And then retiring at night, I can either set up some time to do that, or I can literally do it when I lay my head down in the bed. I don't know about you. Some people go to bed right away. Some people, as soon as they hit the pillow, they're knocked out. If that's the case for you, then sit up first before you lay your head on the pillow. But I'm usually up for a little bit before I finally fall asleep. And that was an opportunity to end my staff meeting, the end of the day staff meeting, and to take those questions and start asking myself. That's a practice that I did for a very long time. And what that allowed me to do is to become familiar with the intuitive thought, because it talked about it in the big book. I'm going to have eras where I think I'm talking to a burning bush. It ain't really a burning bush. I'm just starting out this relationship with this power, and I'm going to make some mistakes along the way. Just as I make mistakes along the way with my new relationships, with new friends and people I meet. I assumed, you know what I mean? You said that. Until I really learned how we communicate with one another. And I get to do that with this higher power. I can assume certain things, and it turns out that's not the case. And that's okay. And so from there, I believe it's almost like planting the seed of a flower. And it keeps getting nurtured by my attendance to the plant. Like, we can get plants or we can plant seeds, but if I don't take care of it, if I don't tend to it, if I don't be mindful of it or keep coming to it, the plant or the flowers are going to die. And I see that the same way we're building this relationship with this power. And then it starts changing. And so now I'm able to take my meditation practice into multiple forms, because I'm now familiar with what it's like to be still. And be still doesn't mean physical stillness. Sometimes I introduce people to the concept, especially like younger folks, of the ants, like being antsy and a lot of energy, to do that type of inner meditation and dialogue while doing an activity. Hiking, painting, writing. Do you know what I'm saying? Everything is not so black and white. I was telling someone the other day, as I said, I was doing transcendental meditation, I think around the age of 6 or 7. And they gave me my mantra, the big master guru. He was a big deal in the 70s. He gave me the mantra, and I had to do it walking. I was 6 or 7 years old. I'm not sitting in no lotus flower at 6, 7 years old. It wasn't gonna happen. And so my dad would sit, and my brother would sit. He was older, but I would literally walk. I would walk around the house doing my meditation, and I would walk. I learned then what that was to be adaptable to my environment and my, situation in order to have this relationship with this newfound power or this energy. And so I'm able to incorporate these practices. Do I do them every day? I don't know. I think I do. Sometimes I don't. I can tell when I don't. I'm not the best sometimes. I'm a little more agitated when I don't. And it's funny because I started to say I don't do it every day, but because it's turned into like brushing my teeth and tying my shoes, it's hard for me not to do it every day. I guess you know what I'm saying? Like somehow, some way I'm doing it. I'm asking myself these questions. I can get into breathing exercises. There's nothing like the breath for a meditation. Some people say, oh, I don't know how to meditate. Pay attention to your breathing, because most of us forget we're even breathing. Ask yourself questions while you're breathing. Listen to your breath. Most of us don't even pay attention to our breath, and that is the most precious thing we have until the moment we leave this planet is our breath. No? Pay attention to the breath. I have anxiety attacks. I need to breathe. And what it does for me is it brings me into the present moment. It allows me to realize that there really aren't any big deals. Everything is okay. And it'll talk about it. We've got some other topics where it says I'm less likely to be anxious, afraid, emotional. Like that's my compass. I can go into that state of meditation not only in the morning and at night. I could do it any time of the day. It talks about pause when agitated. Take a breath. Watch. Ask. Be still. It has solidified the sanity that was restored in 10. It has supported the sanity, maintained the sanity that was restored in 10. It has allowed me to come into that place of gratitude, that I'm now a sober, walking member of Alcoholics Anonymous and in my community. So it's all about meditation for me is this dialogue and this connection with this power. That's what I mean. I always say I feel like I shortchanged that step, man. There's so much in there that I know afterwards I'm going to be like, oh. But it becomes so important for me to do because I'm now in the world in which he has designed for me. I always hear Ralph in my head, I get a blessing to be a blessing. Sobriety is a gift given to me by God, and what I do with it is my gift to God. And so from here moving forward, in my 24 hours, I give all glory or gift to this power that brought me to you. And I would think that the one that saved me from the depths of hell, from the gates of death, that I could at the very least take a few minutes in the morning and at night to have a little check-in, not a check-in, like a little dialogue as to how I can continue to be useful, because I have been saved. People could sing Amazing Grace, We're the land of the misfits, the broken toys. You know, most of us should all be dead. I know I shouldn't be alive. And so can I take a moment, right, to acknowledge that my life has been reserved, has been saved, so that I can be an instrument of this power, right? So that I can show what this power can do. Well, I need this power to polish me up, shine me up, tune me up, to put me back on the road. And so my moment of meditations is like the tune up, you know, like taking the car in, man. I got to take it in. I got to get a tune up. I need some new whatever, some gas. We're off and running. I don't know any car that you take it out of the lot and you're good and you never have to do anything to it again. You could have it, but eventually it breaks down. And so I'm grateful to this power. So I want to continue to stay tapped into, and it's going to change. I've gone into meditation angry. I've gone into my staff meetings. That's when I call them powwows with my higher power. We're going on a journey with some powwow, right? I got some things I want to talk about. I want to rearrange this entire organization because something ain't going on right. We need to have a discussion. Oh my goodness. And I come out going, well, I guess I didn't really know what I was talking about, but it sounded good though. So I think my time, are you timing me, Ali? I think what, 2 minutes? Where are we at? Okay, so now can I graduate from kindergarten to first grade to high school to teenager? Well, in the last 30 years, I've had the ability to develop that relationship of meditation, to explore multiple forms of meditation. I can take it to the next level. I can explore other avenues of doing them. I could take suggestions from other spiritual teachers and guides on how they get connected with their source of power. And so through the years, I found those things that were exciting to experiment with. And then I found the things that I became most comfortable on how I can hear the relationship with my higher power. And that changes. I think the hardest time for me that I had with regards to meditation is there's two areas where meditation is a challenge for me. And that is physical pain. When I'm living with physical pain, I have fibromyalgia. And that was the first time that no matter how much I wanted to hear, I couldn't hear anything because my brain is dominated and is designed that way to protect me by the alert of pain, right? And so as I'm trying to listen to something else, the only thing I kept hearing was pain, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you're doing, but you're in pain. Like having a toothache, you can't hear nothing else unless you get a plier or some codeine, you know what I'm saying? Or they pull it out. So I had to look for, because that was the saddest time. I had to look for other forms of meditation that can alleviate the pressure of that, you know what I mean? Alertness of the brain, to bring me to a space where I can now kind of connect. And I end up learning another form of meditation where actually it took me out into space. And I was levitating, you know, like they do in the moon, like the moon guys do, like they tied in. And I literally went through a process. It was a guided meditation where I balled up like a fetus. And I kept listening to the guidance of that, pushing me through the voice of pain, and then literally had me hanging out into the abyss of the universe. And that's where I had my staff meeting with God. I had to go through that process because while here I couldn't, you know what I mean? On the physical plane, I couldn't. It just reminded me of pain. And the other one, and these are all related to pain. And the other one was grieving. My heart was broken. I had a lot of losses, and it was pain. So my heart was hurting. So when I went in to ask, the only thing I heard was sorrow. Sorrow, the pain of sorrow. And it was very uncomfortable. And I didn't want to go there, right? I didn't want to keep feeling that and hearing that. And so I kept rejecting that process. And that's when too, I needed help. There's certain meditations or journeys that I go into with my relationship with God and connection that I need a guide, just like sometimes we need tour guides, you know, that I need someone to journey with me so that I know that I'm safe on this end to go a little bit deeper. And so in that, with the grieving, aside from other work I've had to do, I needed someone to journey with me because it was so dark. I was scared to go in there. And the toilet bowl wasn't full of crap. I just needed to see and feel and hear the pain, and I didn't want to. You know what I mean? I was rejecting it, and I didn't want to go in there alone until I knew it was safe enough to do so. So those are, I would say, the two areas that I struggled the most when it comes to meditation. Other than that, I don't put labels on it. I don't put high expectations about it. I'm just willing to follow whatever's there or whatever guidance that I get. I allow myself to have an experience, again, without any major judgment. I tell some folks who training in meditation, it's funny how, if you ever notice, you might go into a silence of closing your eyes and you get past all the jargon, because you got to get past the jargon. Let the conversation just fly before you. Just let it go. Just let it go. Almost like the start of a meeting. And then you say the serenity prayer and all of a sudden becomes silent, right? Just let it go. And I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so you just let the jargon go. You let the jargon go. And then you'll notice all of a sudden you go into this place, a peaceful place, and you start like a kaleidoscope. You might start seeing a light or something, right? A color or a symbol. And what most people do, and this is all ego, most people go, what was that? Mess up the whole process of the meditation. Most people, that's just a natural thing where you want to see more of it, right? Most people are like, what was it? Oh, I saw a light. Was it purple? And when you do that, you lose it. And so to me, meditation is letting go of that, of this plane, of the physical, and just have a spiritual experience. When you have a spiritual experience, I can attach, you know what I mean? Logic to it, right? I can't tap in the logic and that don't kind of go together. So quick things, I usually try to take care of the ego. We're talking about forms of meditation in practice. I take care of the ego by doing this. The ego is designed to survive. That's why writing a lot helps. The ego is, we can't get rid of it, but we smash it around here in the program. We get rid of it, we're gonna die. You know what I mean? We have to. Anyway, it allows us to survive. So I take care of the ego sometimes in different forms of meditation by making sure that there's either food next to me, okay, going to the bathroom, being in a warm place, being in a space that's safe, right? Like my back may not be to the door, or because if I'm either have to go to the bathroom, I need to eat, I'm not safe, or the temperature of my body is uncomfortable, my ego is gonna go, I don't know what you're doing. How about you tripping? I don't care who you want to talk to. We're here on Earth. And on Earth, you need to pee, you need to eat, you need to wait. You need to defend yourself. Stop it. And because I'm having a human experience, even though I'm a spirit, ego can kind of dominate that conversation. So I want to take care of ego by saying we're good. Either I have food for us to eat afterwards, or I eat something before I go to the bathroom. We safe, and I'll get less interruptions from that one. From the vice president of my organization. Wait, okay. Ego is the vice president. I'm sorry. I don't know what anybody be talking about, but as long as I let the employer be in charge, it takes care of my vice president as well. And I wanted to end with this, okay, because I've been thinking about this a lot. Why is all this so necessary? Because if I drink, I'm going to die, and a physical death will be a luxury for me. Alcoholic torture is knowing that there's a solution and I can never get back to it. That's what I believe. And so I've been thinking a lot about sobriety's connection to the dash. So I'm going back to the dash again. Years ago, a woman asked me, Theresa, tell me about your dash. And certainly I learned some wonderful words around here, and that's, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And so she said to me, when you're born and on your tombstone, you will see the date in which you're born and then the date that you die. And in between, there's a dash. So when I ask you, what is your dash? We're really talking about how we lived. Tell me about your dash. And since we never know when we're going to die, and I think many of us have been confronted with immortality recently and how easy things can be lost. Every day I'm contributing to that dash. Every single day. I got 24 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours or this moment to contribute to that dash. If I was to die right now, this moment, as some woman did from our home group not too long ago, she literally died at a meeting after sharing. She smiled, had a severe heart attack, and died in a meeting in Zoom. That was the last share. And she said, I think something is wrong, and she fell over, gone. So if I was to go right now, this moment, what would they say about my dash? I don't know about you, but when people pass away, we don't talk about what job they had, what car they drove, what money was in the bank account, how many trips they flew to. We tend to talk about their character. 30 years ago, if I would have died, they probably would have said it's about time. We finally can get some rest. We never liked her anyway. We couldn't wait for her to die. But today, my goodness, the things I think about, I just get teary-eyed of what one would say about this dash. And in order for me to contribute to this dash, so that I could be a daughter and a sister and a friend and an aunt and a partner, is to stay in conscious contact with this power to make me the best daughter, sister, partner, neighbor, friend, aunt that I can possibly be. And the only way I know how to do that is through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm going to keep coming back, uncovering, discovering, and discarding, and tapping into this source of power to do what it needs to do. So thank you all so much. And I think we're now going to open it for questions. Thank you. Hope that was